I love the chat. I love the stream chat.
Okay, you're live.
Awesome. So this is live, huh? This is what live seems like?
Yes, it is. Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Hello.
So, I am Crow. I'm joined today by our two runners, Mr. PR Miller.
Hello. How's everybody doing? I know it's Sunday. I know that the marathon's been kind of exciting, and nobody really wants it to end, but I think for high spirits' sake, it must.
As well as our other contender, davidtki.
Hi, I'm David. I'm relatively new to the Quest for Glory community, but I've been having fun with this. I'm looking forward to showing off.
So, to close out the second Questing for Glory marathon, some serendipitous scheduling conflicts have led us to conclude it with a Quest for Glory speedrun for the second year running now. You may remember that last year I supposedly was going to do a 100% speed run of the first 4 games of this series. However, I missed 1 point, making it a dreadfully embarrassing 99.995% speed.
I remember that.
To try to redeem us and bring honor back to the Quest for Glory speedrunning community, we are bringing you today any percent speedrun race between these two players, and they are going to go through the entire series, causing the people in the world, in the sections of the world that they go to believe that they are heroes, whether or not their actions actually suggest that that is actually the case. So the Quest for Glory series is a bunch of DOS era and then going into early Windows 95 hybrid adventure / RPG game. It's usually how you describe them. You can see right here that they have chosen the thief class for each of them, and that they had some Western RPG style choices for what stats to plug into the character before the game begins. And you may also notice that these two games don't look the same. So you guys want to explain how you've chosen how to do that?
Sure. David and I wanted to do something a little different this year because Quest for Glory 100% was done last year. We decided that because there's 2 different versions of the first game, a older version, an EGA, and a VGA remake of both games, that we would race between them. And the idea is that there are different glitches, exploits. They both run differently, and the strategies used to get through them are different. And because they're so different, we kind of had the opportunity to see which game is faster. And in the practice for this and learning this route, I think you set the world record for any percent, right, David?
Yeah, it went from 1 hour 9 minutes to 1 hour 3 minutes.
Which is one of the larger drops. You would have thought that would have been a mega skip or something like that, but you will see 2 different versions, and you will get to see the graphically enhanced. And we're going to swap. So David's going to do the older EGA, as followed by the remake of the second game, and I'm going to do the remake of the first game, followed by the second game, the older version. And I think, unless there's any more commentary that needs to go into this, we need to do this.
Before we start, I really want to point out that we're using different starting stats. You've put 35 into stealth, and I've put 40 into strength. The rest goes into magic.
Yeah, we're both going to be pretty magic dependent, but you'll see that our routes are going to diverge almost immediately. The second we leave town, we're going to go in different directions. So David is going to definitely, unless something crazy happens, he should finish the first game before I finish the first game. And then once the second game starts, I'm going to catapult ahead of him because of the different glitches that are in the second game. But then he's going to end up finishing the second game before I'm even close to finishing the second game, in which case we'll meet at Quest for Glory 3 once things are evened out and really have a proper race at that point.
Yep. So, no further ado, I think
Sounds
it's time
good.
for us to get that countdown going. So,
All right.
Start at
Crow.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And we're off. So they both start in the town of Spielberg, and the supposed goal of Quest for Glory 1 is to assemble a Dispel Potion in order to disenchant Elsa von Spielberg, who is the princess of this region. And that may or may not actually occur. In fact, it probably won't. We've got the EGA version showing off running away from some enemies and is going immediately to the back door to the final area of the game. In the EGA version, where you can just type in whatever commands you want to do, the original release allowed you to type the password you're supposed to need to get halfway through the progression of the game in order to learn. You just type it in if you already know it, and then it just lets you skip that dreadful troll fight as a result. So he's already in the final area of the game and about to execute a glitch in order to make the game consider itself as having been done. He has to do a bunch of other stuff in a maze before that, though. On the VGA side of things, you see that we have the Kobold Cave being explored. There's a bear there. That bear is actually the prince of the region, and you're supposed to need to rescue the prince first so that you can learn that password that I just mentioned before, thanks to the more current version that actually needs to be investigated properly here. So you see him sneaking around to steal the key from the Kobold Wizard, and then rescues the prince that way. And meanwhile, on the EGA side of things, the game's already over. So he'll just be waiting to...
Yeah, casting open frees you from the... frees you from Elsa and allows you to just walk out of the room. The game wasn't expecting that.
Right,
yeah.
So what's supposed to happen there is if you take any action that you're allowed to take, because it locks you out of most actions, then Elsa just kills you in brigand form. The only thing that's supposed to get you out of that is if you use the Dispel Potion. Turns out there are a couple actions that actually won't get you instantly killed. Then if you exit the room, that's the trigger for ending the game. So that's what he did. You're going to see essentially the same glitch executed on the VGA side as well. However, because he had to collect the password first, it wound up being a lot slower.
And to top things off, things are a little different in this version because we're going into EGA 2. The game runs a little differently. See, the Quest for Glory 2 Remake was a lot more generous in what it actually gave you. If you were missing certain spells, but you had the skill of magic, it would just give them to you in the remake. Whereas it was far less forgiving in the original, so I had to pick up spells that I will need. Whereas if we were doing a run to the second game, I wouldn't need to pick up those spells. This game, actually, I would have been done probably about 30 seconds from now.
So speaking a little bit more to stats, you can see a pretty extensive grind that just happened on the door, where he just tried to open the door even after it opened. The purpose of this is to increase the strength statistic on the character. And just generally speaking, in the Quest for Glory series, when you...
Got it.
Oh, yeah, you didn't get the Minotaur skip first try. Just generally speaking, when you try to perform an action, the game gives you a chance to increase that particular statistic. So there are certain cutoffs you'll need at various points throughout the games, and they'll be setting themselves up to gain whichever cutoffs they need in whichever versions of the games they're playing. So, in the case of spells, individual spells also have their own expertise. And there are some cutoffs where if you don't have at least a certain amount of skill as you go into, I think it's game 4 and then also game 5, then the game just assumes that you've failed to learn the spell at all and removes it from your spell list, which can be a pretty big problem.
And that was a pretty big barrier, too. For a while, we didn't know what was causing that until a little bit of testing was done. And now that we know, it's very easy to grind your stats in the fourth game up to the point where you don't lose anything. And we were losing spells that we needed in some runs.
So it's pretty good that they now at least know the cause, even if the random nature of expertise gaining still makes it unpredictable as to whether it's going to happen or not.
And done.
All right.
All right. So the reason that we thought the VGA version of Quest for Glory 1 was faster was just because of how long that ending sequence took me. But I'm going into Quest for Glory 2 now.
Right. So he's going into Quest for Glory 2 in the remake. So the remake of Quest for Glory 2, by the way, is freely available. It's made by the AGD Interactive guys, and they made this particular adventure game engine. There's a bunch of other, for pay games that you can play that are on the same engine as well. But this one is available for free, so this is definitely one to check out if you haven't. It's a very well-made remake, and it includes, among other niceties, a simplified version of the street maps if you choose to have them, which makes things such as finding the money changer a lot easier than it was in the original version. However, finding the money changer at all in the original version wasn't necessarily required because, well, I assume we're going to see that glitch shortly.
Oh, yeah.
Sell beard.
Right. So on the remake side of things, he's preparing himself to fight the fire elemental. There are 4 elementals. I just saw a shark floating through the streets.
Yeah, that was Sharky Darb.
Yeah, I guess he left silly clowns on.
I always leave it on.
Oh, it's a time sink if you get caught, though.
But it's funny.
Yeah, there's lots of fun things throughout these games. Most of which you won't see because this is any percent. Some of which you won't even see in 100%, quite frankly. There's a lot to explore. Anyway, we're seeing some beard selling on the...
I got the drop
PGA
lamp
side.
text.
Whoops. Wow. That was a pretty serious amount of text right there. Anyway, on the type in your commanded to the parser side of things, he has just asserted that he was selling a beard to Keep On Laughing. Keep On Laughing is the proprietor of the magic shop, and one of the tasks he has on the bulletin board is that he wants to get a whirl of the beard of a hermit that's in the dervish, he's called, at the oasis in the desert here in Shakir. And if you just type sell beard, it assumes you have it and sells the beard, and you get the money. So he never visited the money changer at all. He just acquired money from the current area, and then that was that. He also purchased a whole lot of spells that he needed. And a little later on is when the remake actually bothers to go shopping there. And it will go shopping there. We'll pick up a bunch of spells that will be useful, not just in this game, but also in games to come. They are multi-classic. So they are playing as thieves, but they did take some points in magic, which allows them to take spells. And a lot of spells give quick solutions to some problems you would otherwise have to, like, grind stats for, maybe get good enough at climbing, maybe get good enough at stealth or whatever. But sometimes if you just have the right spell, you can do it easily.
This glitch is actually kind of an important one because this was found during the TAS hunting area for this game. The reason Quest for Glory 2 EGA is going to speed ahead of VGA is because we can skip pretty much the entire first city and not deal with any of the elementals, which are the first major big bads of the area. Ah, shit.
Right. So
I got caught in dialogue.
Oh, whoops.
That's not good.
Dealing with your with the interface is actually a little bit challenging in each of these games because each game has its own standards of what buttons work to speed you along, what buttons don't, what buttons will get you into the inventory and out, how you move quickly. All of that is just completely different from one game to the next, and you have to be constantly changing your game mechanics. But as far as the glitch that is being performed on the EGA side of things, what he's doing is he is causing the game to change the date at the time while he is teleporting from one place to the other using his magic map. The game does accelerate the clock to indicate that you actually spend some time traveling. However, if that happens and it skips over the point in time when the city is supposed to be destroyed because one of the 4 elementals that you were supposed to remove wasn't removed, the game does not check for that and will not destroy the city. In fact, it won't even advance the elemental threat flag. So the last 2 elementals, as I understand it, just won't show up in the city at any point ever over the course of doing this glitch. Am I right on that?
Yeah, you are correct. In fact, if I would have gone over to the area where the air elemental was, which is the second elemental that you fight, he would have still been destroying the city. The reason is that there's like this internal counter that the fastest way that I can describe it, it's like knowing that there is a murderer who's waiting at your house, but you wait until he goes into his car and then you unlock the door and get in and you're safe.
Not the way I usually think about things.
Well, I mean, I could talk about internal integers and timers and all sorts of things. I was like, how do I describe all of this to somebody who might not know what an internal integer is? But yeah, there's a counter inside.
I guess I forget not everyone is a computer programmer.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so each of them have completed the first city of the second game now. They're now going into Raseir, which used to be the mirror image of Shapir and was just as happy as Shapir was. However, has been taken over by an authoritarian regime. Even acquiring water that wasn't government sanctioned is now illegal. So, just generally unpleasant place to be. An important part of this is trying to expend time as quickly as you can, which is unfortunately way more difficult, especially in the EGA version, than it should be. One thing that can help is that Senor Ferrari does drug you near the beginning of the sequence as he's pretending to, be a nice fellow with you. And that drugging process, as long as your vitality is low, will expend a pretty large amount of time. But still, you are not allowed to sleep until the evening. And in the EGA version, there is no such thing as resting to advance the clock. You just have to wait it out. So you're going to see a lot of just trying to practice the stealth skill to get some extra stats that he can without expending any time. Apart from that, he just needs to wait until the proper time until he can...
That's going to be about 5 minutes for Mr. Miller, whereas I'm already past that day now.
Yep.
So yeah, expect to see a lot of walking back and forth on the EGA. See progression on VGA. So in the VGA, a bit of a staged arrest occurs. They already knew this person was smuggling water, but they decided to dramatically arrest him in front of you in order to make you feel scared. But then you get pulled over by a couple of girls. One is about to be recruited into the harem of the authoritarian ruler. So she wants your clothes. You realize you have a spare set, so you don't have to take off your own, thankfully. She also wants your visa so that she can get out of the city disguised as you.
Thankfully, I didn't have MasterCard.
Yes, exactly. That wouldn't have helped at all. So then he just gets caught by guards. This is also the fastest way to get caught in the EGA version as well, but it still takes a lot longer for that too. So the VGA will then escape from prison using magic, because of course you would use magic to escape prison, even if you're a thief. Otherwise, the thief is supposed to have acquired a sapphire pin and use that to pick the lock or something, but they're multi-class, so we don't have to bother. Then our best friend Adavis, who is very clearly not Jafar. By the way, this predates Aladdin, not the other way around. So this very clearly not Jafar character is going to have us go into the cave and retrieve some sort of magic object for him. You need to do various tasks, like avoid getting sucked into a vacuum thing that's in the side. You have to jump across the log, which is actually kind of tricky, particularly in the remake. If you have the game set to maximum play speed, it can be hard to get on and off the log at the correct time. If you miss the timing, you just die. So you're seeing a lot of safety saves as a result. The next lava room is also rather tricky. Step on any lava or just happen to get a fire plume spawn on top of you, and bam, that's that. So we're seeing just a lot of health pills being popped in order to get through that. Soleiman is the name of power. If you haven't paid attention, then you just won't know that, and you'll be stuck there. And then there's the statue of Iblis, which not Jafar will run off with and leave you stuck in the cave. You find a ring, which you're allowed to wish for. What wishes do you go for, by the way?
Magic and intelligence.
Yep.
You need as much mana as possible for 3.
Right, because 3 is a bit of a nightmare because of the particular glitch you need to use there. You can wish for improvements on stats. You can also wish for like healing or whatever, but they need the stats for future games without actually taking the time out to grind. By future games, I mean the next game, because Quest for Glory 4 will actually give them pity stats for all the things they haven't been grinding throughout all these games. You're supposed to spend many hours as you're playing through these games just grinding your stats up. They're not doing that, and that's going to come to a head in the next game. Anyway, Adavis is dead on the left side. They're supposed to like knock over a candle. You can do that if you feel like it, but you don't have to. Just did a trigger, I think, to get rid of the golem.
No, I just ran away from it.
Oh,
yeah, if you're a thief, you can just run away.
I usually play as the wizard. So yeah.
A lot of the magical triggers that are in that room are linked to the reversal spell. So if you don't have the reversal spell, the game behaves very differently. If you're a wizard, it also is slightly different because you will need to cast trigger as opposed to just being able to run away if you were a fighter or a thief.
I seem to recall seeing a fighter just not able to run away. Get rid of it somehow. Maybe that's version difference.
Well,
anyway.
I'm running back and forth with somebody just staring at me. I kind of just stare at her back and see if I can get her back for a little bit.
So I actually can.
She doesn't answer. So.
I actually can zoom through all this ending text. I'm not doing that because we need to sync up at Quest for Glory 3.
As you can see, he is way ahead of me at this point, and there have been minimal mistakes on my side. It's just that much faster in the EGA to VGA, or even VGA to VGA. It's significantly faster because of the extra time you have to take in Quest for Glory 1 to get spells, because of the EGA's harsh, unforgiving nature and the of giving you things that you shouldn't actually have, or not giving you things that you shouldn't actually have. It's just very selfish. A very selfish game.
Yeah, these games were made back in an era where no hand-holding was to be found, and players were expected to read the instruction manual or die, and things such as that.
Yes. And these games were not exactly known for moon logic either. Some of the point-and-click adventures and some of the early text games were, but no moon logic here, where you don't have to have a water bottle in your hand in order to spray the dragon in the face so that way he can't burn you, or some craziness. I mean, there's always something like that.
Yeah, compared to most adventure games, the Quest for Glory series, largely thanks to being a hybrid RPG series, allows for multiple sensible options for solving the problems that face. Each of the 3 classes usually has their own intended way to solve whatever the main puzzles of the game are. And whichever class you are, you can usually use any of the class's solutions as long as you've grinded those particular stats and gotten with the requisite spells, if that's what you're doing, etc. So it's fairly open-ended on that front, but you usually get the most points if you're going for a high score, or 100%, whichever. You get the most points if you stick with what your class was supposed to.
But as you can see, I'm only at 37 points right now, and I'm heading towards the end game.
You didn't deal with any of the elementals.
No.
Give you a couple hundred, I think.
Meanwhile, I ended the game with 232.
Yeah, I will be far less heroic than David.
You saved the bear.
That's fair. Of course, in some situations, it may be faster to kill the bear.
Yeah. Anything
Which
that
actually
causes the bear to not be in the kobold's cave in the first game is sufficient to cause you to be able to get the password. It's the only thing they actually care about. Yeah, you're supposed to rescue the bear, but you can also
get money for it too.
Yes, you can also get money for that if you feel like it.
Come on, game.
Okay, so as we finish up, I see you've slowed down the game speed a little bit.
That screen's always slow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's something about that one that just makes it go. I am slowing the game speed down here, though. If the game speed is too fast, I'll burn to death. In fact, I might already because I took that damage there. You don't want to touch the lava. The floor is lava.
Literally.
All right, the question is, how much hit points do I have? Yeah, I'm not going to survive that. I need to save. Or I need to load.
Did you not get any healing pills in the EGA round?
Of course not. Devil may care. And he hates a coward.
Typing, but the text parser is also a little bit sluggish.
There we go.
It's like maybe 0.2 seconds, maybe 0.1 second per letter. You can certainly type faster than it processes, actually.
Ooh, almost got through that without any treasure.
All right, so pretty soon here we'll be advancing on to the third game of the series, which is a little polarizing among the fans, because it's very story heavy, but compared to the other games, it's a lot less content heavy. There's just a lot more empty space and a lot fewer total puzzles to solve. If you want to get immersed in a really well fleshed out epic story of demonic invasion, then Quest for Glory 3 will suit you quite fine. However, we're not going to be dealing with any of that because first of all, it's a speedrun, and second of all, there's a glitch that can just circumvent the entire main story. So I'm not sure when David's going to give himself the go on that.
I'm still waiting for 2 to finish.
Okay, so it is a big enough difference that you're just going to wait for a tie to move on forward?
That's the plan. Like, the disadvantage for Quest for Glory 2 Original is just insurmountable.
Okay.
And this is kind of where the real race will start once I'm in Quest for Glory 3. That's when we'll go.
So you never actually rescued that water elemental, but you just
somehow not at all.
Come up with one and put it in the fountain, and everything's fine in Raseir now. Sorry, yeah, Raseir.
Elementals are my friends. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I could have the heart to do it. I mean,
they're like Pokemon. You gotta catch them all.
Obviously, none of these guys are. I mean, they're going to tell me how great I am, and I haven't done anything. Bloodface hasn't done a thing.
Well, you did help Zaisha, I guess. Did you do anything else?
Well, I killed Jafar. I mean, that's got to count for something.
And by Jafar, you mean not Jafar?
We met what face? I can't skip this dialogue. This is the only dialogue I can't skip in the ending scene. So I just kind of mash enter, hoping it'll work, and even though it never does.
The Kata, by the way, were your friends from the first game, too. They came up with you to Shapir. There's just a lot of Kata in Shapir. You'll see a couple in. But aside from that, it's mostly humans that are the, perennial characters, and then you'll get a bunch of lion talk in the third game of the series.
That's so amazing. They said, can anyone speak for the hero of Spielberg? That's so cute, because I'm definitely not that. I love that the solution, the glitch, just really makes it look like we've run away from every single major threat and come out shining like a gem.
Sometimes the true hero is the one with the courage to run away.
And in this case, it's every time. Especially once we get the Quest for Glory 5.
I've occasionally used Sir Robin as my character name in these games. Seems generally fitting.
Okay, I'm booting up 3 now. All of these games can also be picked up on GOG for literally I think $10 regular price. All 5 of them. So you end up with 5 games for the price of full developed, full great story games. I mean, we're skipping the whole
You're about ready for me to go?
I am ready for what face is continuing his quest for glory.
All right, so
whenever you are ready, you can count me down to start.
Right.
Okay, I'll count down. Sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Cool.
All right, so welcome to Tarna. This is Quest for Glory 3. This is set in the land of Fricana, and we have a savanna here, as well as a jungle as you go further east. And we are supposed to stop a demonic invasion. Kind of happen, although not for any logical reason. So the Lion Tars that run Tarna are gearing up for war because their attempt to resolve conflict between the Leopardmen and the Simbani people was met with apparently an assault by the Leopardmen, but it was actually demons. Anyway, the two of them are just going to try to expend a bunch of time. Rakesh, who was your friend from the previous game,
oh no, I got the Earth Pig.
Oh no, not Arna Snacknusen. This game, although there's a lot of empty space, there are a lot of random things that can happen as you're out in the savannah. One of them being this Earth Pig that tells you a lot about what's going on in the savannah. And that happens a lot of the time the first time you sleep, but not always. Sometimes it'll be the second time you sleep or not at all.
This game is easily the most RNG heavy of the entire series, unless you're doing 100%.
If you're a wizard, 100% is pretty RNG too.
If you do no major glitches, wizard is easily the most RNG heavy.
Oh boy!
I mean, you have to count on three random encounters that may or may not happen for a couple minutes. Grinding that out is awful.
What's happening on David's side?
You'll see.
Oh boy, so I'm really looking forward to this glitch coming up. So,
yeah,
this glitch was actually discovered after last year's Questing for Glory.
By David, no less.
Yes.
So, it turns out if you just spam clicks, then while you're in this escort where they're trying to take you to the Savani village.
Me too.
If you just spam clicks as the transition happens, you can abort the escort sequence and then just move on. While you are in escort mode, there are no encounters. And if you are in escort mode when you enter the jungle, then the game will think that you are being escorted by Manu, the monkey, to get to the final segment of the game. So the entirety of the game just got skipped by spamming clicks during that one screen transition. And that it's that easy.
Yep,
well,
we are now
pretty fast, but still.
Yeah, we're now heading straight for the end game. So, that could have been the race right there also. I mean, because if you have to restart that a couple times, that is not a guaranteed glitch to pull off.
So now that they have pretended to be a hero for so long, their comeuppance is about to arrive. So all of this time they were supposed to be getting strong enough and smart enough and skilled enough to be a hero. They haven't done that at all. So they're about to fight a demon. There is supposed to be an alternative solution to fighting this demon if you assemble a dispel potion, but they didn't because they just ran straight to the end game. So they have to fight a demon.
With low stats.
This demon is very, very strong compared to their current stats. They're going to have to very carefully pace out their spell cast in order to keep... and they're casting Flame Dart, which I believe they learned in the first game.
Well, I was given it on import.
Oh, you're just arbitrarily giving it on the import. Brilliant.
Quest for Glory 2 VGA is very forgiving.
At least one of the two of them actually purchased it.
Me. I did it. It's one of the few things we did legitimately.
50% success rate on actually getting the spell they're going to use to do the one heroic thing that they do, which is defeating this demon. So they barely have any MP. They get two-shot by the demon's punches. Depending on where exactly their stats are, you may notice that they HP and SP, that's SP is stamina, bars. Sometimes they'll lose their bar from the left side for no apparent reason, just because their stats are so much less than this combat system considers an option. So they need to somehow or other deal enough damage to kill this demon. After first, of course, fetching Opal from the Anubis. You're supposed to get that by rescuing some gear bats, but they don't deal with it. They sneak by a couple of demons, but then they have to fight this next one that is possessing Rikshasa, who is Rakisha's son or daughter? I've actually
daughter.
Rikshasa. Okay. So I believe they're probably in the fight now, right?
Yep, I'm right here.
Okay. So I've seen strategies that are just Flame Dart. I've seen strategies that are alternating Flame Dart and attack with the daggers. You have to be very careful to make sure that you do not permit the demon, that you allow the demon to reset its hurt animation, so that you do not permit the demon to ever execute its attack animation. Because again, 2 attacks and they are just dead.
It is possible to dodge it.
Weapon use skills, so actually doing damage with the dagger is optimistic at best, but they do need it to happen a couple.
Yeah, we need to stretch the...
notoriously bad luck on this guy.
We need to stretch our mana as far as it goes, which is why we put the swings in the first place.
Yeah, what is your magic stat at this point anyway? 70?
About 140. And the demon's down.
Better than I thought.
Would it surprise you to hear that I ran out?
Uh-oh.
No, not at all.
I'm not surprised, but...
you on 1 pixel, too. So yeah, you just need to attack, and that's just not going to happen. I think they're easier to hit when they're in their I just got hurt animation.
Come on.
Is he somehow missing you?
Oh yeah, you can press... You can press left and right to force the attack to miss.
Oh.
Yeah, if
right.
you can keep clicking the this left arrow here, and you can actually regain stamina. No enemy will ever hit you, no matter what they use. Oh, come on.
Just overall, the combat system from the third game is probably the glitchiest. I saw you landed a hit, but it still didn't kill.
I've landed 2.
Probably also double digits, right?
Got him.
Okay, so they're both through the hard fight, and
That's the
now
barrier.
you're going to do some more silliness. There's a fight that you're supposed to lose, which of course they will.
And having low stats there really helps.
Mm-hmm.
So after quickly losing thanks to having low stats, Harami, the thief, who they allegedly helped out, but actually... and Yasufusu, who's also, on the side, and Johari, who they also didn't meet, and Manu, who only was magically conjured up. All these people helping them out allow you to move on to the wizard. And then they're just going to spam click as they enter the room in order to get out of bounds, walk around to approximately where the game expects you must have walked across a couple ropes if you are there, and then use a grapnel, which is allegedly associated with the rope that they never actually purchased, in order to finally defeat the demon wizard, and then that's that. Also, you're supposed to be sneaking in while he's talking to the big bad guy who's on the other side of the world gate.
This is dark magic.
So,
QFG, please don't end.
Yeah, and along the way, we were probably, in this game, supposed to cure racism in this place, which we never did. So, again, we are the least heroic people of all time. Come on. Where are you at, Harami?
So, all of this dark boogieing, of course, indicates that you're being sent across the world to a new location, Mordovia, which is basically Transylvania. It's got all that gothic horror stuff going on. It's like Mr. P.R. Miller's needing to try a couple times to get the out of bounds glitch working on the demon wizard fight.
I have never been able to get that on its first try, and I think you did it pretty consistently, right, David?
Yeah, I got it first try this time.
But eventually we can all walk through the sky if we try hard enough.
I'd like to point out you don't even cause the world. You just close the world gate and go around. So,
because I'm actually behind David pretty significantly, I'm actually going to do a little bit of route changing here. Not anything crazy, but there are 2 different ways to solve some of the puzzles in the next game, and I'm going to give it a shot. It's not going to make it any faster, but it's not going to really be any slower. So,
on-the-fly route changes is always a good. So,
until they're not.
So
something we haven't actually. Sorry, something we haven't actually talked about is that each game has its hotkeys that are a little different, and opening up the menu in each game, like accessing the inventory, can be done a little bit differently. Like, for example, in Quest for Glory 1, you can open up the game with tab, or open up your inventory with tab, but you can't close it unless you click the item. Click the OK button. In Quest for Glory 3, there's no inventory opening, and in Quest for Glory 2, you have like the best of all worlds.
So something I wanted to mention really quick is that Quest for Glory 4 is the point at which the import system starts forgiving you for not bothering to train, and it brings you up to minimum stats.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are a little bit different about Quest for Glory 4 compared to the other games. It was released on a CD as well, or at least one of the options was a CD, which came with voice acting, and pretty good voice acting with that.
Yes.
So yeah,
Jennifer Hale and John Rhys Davies.
Yep.
And Cam Clark.
Oh yeah.
So you'll see a couple actions that look kind of pointless that they perform, like popping into the Burgermeister's office for a little bit. These sorts of things are often to make sure that the Igor event operates properly later on. On day 5, Igor is supposed to go missing, and then you're supposed to exonerate a gypsy who's accused of being a werewolf, when in reality he's really just a shapeshifter who turns into a werewolf whenever he feels like it. But anyway, you need to exonerate him for the crime, which he obviously did not commit. But for all that to work, you have to set up a few triggers correctly. So they'll be dealing with that. There are a lot of little mini-game type puzzles throughout Quest for Glory 4, and most of them have this question mark near the upper left corner that you can just spam click and say, you know what, I don't care about getting the points for completing this puzzle. I just want to be done with this puzzle. You just spam click that enough, eventually it just says you solved the puzzle. And then you move on. So you're going to see that a few times here, since this is not 100.
Also, I will not be saving Igor. So
Oh, you're going to show that.
Oh
yeah,
okay.
I'm going to actually be a little dark here and pick the keys right off of Igor after the fact, so...
That's a little more stressful, because if at that point, if the Burgomeister ever sees you, he declares that you said on your honor that you were going to exonerate Igor, that you were going to exonerate this gypsy. You didn't. You're dead. You got executed. So yeah, it's a lot more stressful there. He's going to have to be even more careful about managing the Burgomeister and keeping.
To which I say, I mean, in my defense, really? You thought I was honorable? I'm a thief and I haven't actually solved any problems in the world ever.
No, you closed one world gate, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, kinda. I mean, but all the people still hate each other.
Right.
And I guess I did kill a wizard who really didn't do anything to me at that point, so...
Speaking of killing wizards, we've got Chernobyl who just killed, I think, on TKI's side.
That fight actually went pretty poorly.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing it now. I'm on a bit of a delay, obviously, since I'm watching the stream. But, yeah, ouch. So I believe that misterprmiller tells the game to use strategy mode, where the game uses fuzzy logic based AI to decide what your character is going to do. You know, some sliders you can use to try to tell it to do as many special actions as possible that are otherwise rather hard to input. David prefers to get his own hands dirty, get in range, and actually slash and kill the guys. So he just defeated a Chernobyl, which is one of the cultists, one of the cultist members that got transformed whenever they were summoning Avuzal, the great ancient evil one from the void or whatever. It's a very Lovecraftian horror type kind of idea there. And that's the big thing that you're trying to deal with here in Mordovia. And of course, in order to deal with Avuzal, you are collecting the rituals necessary to summon him, because that makes sense. So once they go through all of the various puzzles to locate all of those things, eventually they'll try to summon Avuzal for reasons we'll get to once we get there. But for now, just know that he has the glide spell, which he found in Arana's garden, which is one of the few safe havens around Mordovia. He used that in order to get around on the swamp. The alternative is to use acrobatics, which he should know, but was never actually taught in Quest for Glory 3, but I think they're forgiving on it.
Yeah, you will. If you're a thief, you'll automatically receive the acrobatics at the beginning of a game, because it's technically required in one of the puzzles at the end of the game.
So in addition,
we don't have one of the other options.
So in addition to getting the ritual, there's also two things you need to do before endgame. One of them is giving the gnome his humor back, and the other is rescuing Tanya. Those are the triggers for the final letter.
On top of things, I don't care how bad your Chernobyl wizard fight went, there's no way it went as bad as mine.
Strategy gives, strategy takes.
Yes.
So what we're seeing with the ghost, by the way, and the old is that Nikolai has been looking for his wife for many, many years now, but she died in the forest and became a ghost. You find the ghost, you tell Nikolai about it, like a responsible person, and then also like the level of responsibility that you have come to expect from this quote-unquote hero. You just watch as he wanders off into the forest and, well, becomes a ghost himself. At least they're together again. And the reason you have to do this, the reason you have to murder this old man,
For his
you
hat.
need his hat.
I mean, to be fair, who are we to stand in the way of true love?
I guess. So yeah, you just grab the hat from the ghost because that works for some reason. And it turns out you need the hat in order to get past one of the skulls from Baba Yaga. Remember her? Oh no, actually you don't, because you never saw her.
But she remembers
Baba
us.
Yaga's back. She was terrorizing Spielberg in the first game of the series. And now her chicken hut is set up in a place that frankly makes more sense for the area, as far as matching up the mythologies go. And so you need to get past Bonehead, and his condition for letting you through is to give him a hat. You actually give him that hat before he requests it, and then you give Baba Yaga a pie before she requests it in order to acquire the gnome's humor, which you've not even met the gnome, let alone heard that his humor was stolen by Baba Yaga. But all the sequence breaking still works just fine, and yeah, that's where we're going there. Why did Baba Yaga move away from Spielberg? Presumably because you turned code. That didn't actually happen, but the game asserts that you did.
And also, if you would like to know more about that, you can watch Questing for Glory 1's finale, where Crow manages to actually solve the problems of Spielberg.
Yes, this game here is as far as I go in Questing for Glory 1's marathon. I did all of the DOS era VGA style games. There's also a fifth game in the series, but that one is Windows 95. You will see that after this game, so don't get fooled and leave early.
You won't see very much of it, though, sorry.
That's also true. It is profoundly ironic that the fourth game of the series, which got universally panned by critics for being so buggy, that this game is the only game that they have not found a completely game-breaking way to avoid solving the main problem. You actually have to be as much of a hero as they demand you to be in Quest for Glory 4. There's no real way around that as far
apart from Igor.
Apart from Igor, yes.
And to make things even crazier, we actually have access to the debugger in the game, which would mean that we could get through Quest for Glory 4 faster with the debugger. And we've looked for ways, and everything is locked down like Fort Knox. There doesn't seem to be any way to break this game. So if any casters are out there that want to help us break this game, man, I would love to have you guys aboard. Because we do have a Discord channel for this.
Yes, I suppose I could probably link a invite to that Discord channel at some point here. We welcome anyone who is interested in Quest for Glory or similar game speedruns. We also have a channel for Hero U, for example, as well as Heroine's Quest. We also have a channel for Quest for Infamy, although I don't think it's up on that.
Nope, nobody's run it yet.
Soon.
Spoilers. Nice. Here's this game's, let's see, do I have the right thing? No, I almost messed that up. Never mind, keep going.
Okay, I'm hearing a question about Puri Puri in chat. Puri Puri is kind of the grandfather of adventure game speedruns, as far as I know, especially for Quest for Glory. He's the person who I looked to when I was trying to get the games to actually work right. These are DOS games. You have to be a little careful about DOS box settings and not crash all the time. So, yeah, Puri Puri, unfortunately, has not streamed anything for quite some time. It's kind of vanished. And I wish I knew more about it. So, we're seeing the monastery on the left here. Sometimes the monastery will just kind of crash as you try to leave it. If it does, you can always just burn down the monastery, and that will get you out without crashing. We don't know why exactly, but whatever works.
Is there a pizza percent for Quest for Glory 2? Not yet. It's something I want to run, but I haven't done yet.
I've thought about that too. The pizza element is introduced in this game here, Quest for Glory 4, as one of the 5 basic elements of nature as understood by science. So when the Quest for Glory 2 remake crew were adding just a little bit of extra content to the game, one of the things that they added was a pizza elemental that just misses the city. It just overshoots it. You can, if you want, hunt it down and defeat it in hard combat. And by the way, the Quest for Glory 2 Remake's combat system is spectacular. It is very well done. So that is a great challenge, but nobody has yet put together a speed run to prepare themselves for and then actually defeat the pizza elemental there.
The moment there's a proof of concept, I'll throw that up onto the speedrun.com site immediately, because that would be so cool to see somebody speedrun to a pizza fight.
It would basically involve train the stats needed, take out the fire elemental, get the containment thing, and then go do it.
So we're finally meeting with the gnome on David's side. The gnome lost his sense of humor. You need to restore it. You must restore it, because you need to get the ultimate joke to make anyone laugh. And you can't get it unless if the gnome actually has a sense of humor. So you give him a good humor bar, because that's what a humor would be stored in, right? Hooray for puns.
Yeah, and the final letter doesn't even show up until you give him back his humor.
Oh, that is a stipulation. Did not know that. Makes sense. This game in general, for all of its sometimes weirdness and obtuseness as far as not really being clear what causes what all the time, they are reasonably careful about making sure you don't find a dead man walking sort of scenario that other adventure games are well known for inflicting upon you.
Yeah, from the second game on, they tried to avoid that. I mean, there are some things that you can do, usually only in Quest for Glory 2. Once Quest for Glory 3 happened, there's very little you can do to set yourself up for a dead man walking. And even if they do manage to get a dead man walking, there's usually a glitch that gets you out of it.
So anyways,
Not
Igor
sure if they
went
were
missing,
planning on that part.
but here's Igor.
Okay, so you're actually rescuing him, right?
Yeah.
Alright, so once you rescue Igor, and you can just open the grave. I think that's a little weird. You can use the open spell and it lifts a tombstone, but yes,
It's
it
open.
works. Anyway, once you've rescued Igor, you can get the key to the crypt if you want it. You can also just use magic to open it too.
Yeah, I don't need the key.
Yeah, he does, however, need to see to it that the gypsy is released, and until you have heard that the gypsy has been released, he is not actually released.
At the window, also.
Mechanics, I guess.
You have to hear it that it's at the. You have to hear it from Dimitri at the window. If he's not at the window and you go into his place and he tells you he's released, he's not released. It's one of the oversights in programming on this one.
Oh, looks like a Necrotrar fight. Are you actually going to fight this one?
No, I'm running away.
Okay. Necrotars, the music for the Necrotar fight is epic and extremely long, which is weird. The fight is designed so that either you or the Necrotar is going to be dead within like 10 seconds. So it's kind of weird that they went with one of their longest sound tracks for this game devoted to that particular fight.
If you do want to hear the song, though, you can just put it on strategy and then just click a button.
Anyway, so the reason I'm in the Gypsy camp right here is I need to know about the Destiny spell from them. And until I do, I can't rescue Tanya.
Right, so Tanya is the innkeeper's daughter. And she's been missing for a while. She was given a doll from a source that their parents could not identify. So they got really scared and put her on quarantine, basically. The monster that had given her that doll previously befriended her, rescued her from that oppressive quarantine, and brought her back to his home, which was Castle Burgov. Oh, looks like we have some fun stuff happening on Mr. P.R. Miller's side, too. Rather than actually rescuing Igor, instead, Mr. P.R. Miller has broken into Dimitri's office and busted the gypsy out of jail. So this will result in Mr. P.R. Miller getting executed if Dimitri ever sees him again. But if he's planned things out right, that should not happen.
So I had the heart rate fight go really well.
Good.
Yeah.
So the heart rate is a battle you have to win in order to acquire one of the rituals, the heart ritual, for summoning a boozle. And again, that is one of the sets of things we need to acquire before we complete the game. So if you're a wizard, you actually go through a completely different procedure to get the heart ritual, but both the thief and the fighter have to just fight out that particular raid.
You know, I saw you have to click that puzzle twice there on the shield there, David. I didn't see what you did wrong. I was just watching. It looked like you did that fine.
I may have missed the last click. No problem, just do it again.
Yeah, most of the puzzles are actually pretty consistent, but this game was known for having timing issues because it was linked to the actual system clock. And a lot of patches came out to fix some of those problems, but you could get yourself into some unwinnable situations, which is where a lot of this game's stigma came from.
Yeah, the original release of the game before patches, a lot of how frequently stuff would happen in the game, such as your health draining because you're near undead, or your stamina draining because you're doing a continuous activity. Those things were tied to how fast your computer was, and the game was designed for like 66 megahertz or something like that. You know, those old computers that have the turbo button. Because clearly everyone's going to want to have the option to 33 megahertz if they ever want to, because no one would ever want more than that. That was the logic back in the day. So because they assumed a specific clock speed, once actual computers had clock speeds of more like, 200 megahertz, gigahertz, more than that.
Press F to pay respects to Toby.
Yes. So we are finishing up the Tanya scene. So the monster that had abducted Tanya in the first place
He loves her very much.
Understands what's going on here. The staff of Arana is able to transfer the life from one person into another to restore them from undead. And Toby sacrifices himself, and Tanya is oblivious to what's going on until the last moment happens.
Igor's in that grave, but, well, rest in peace, buddy.
He's gonna show up alive in the ending.
He
Which
will,
is-
in fact.
Which is funny because I can actually confirm his dead body if I go back at, I think, day 7. And apparently he's just back to life. Just like meeting Baba Yaga.
Okay, so the last bit of sleeping to advance the days has now been done. There was actually a fair amount of that throughout this game, but now he has received a letter purportedly from Katrina, who was the allegedly peasant girl who works at the castle, which, oh, by the way, we've already confirmed is just pirate. No.
And yeah,
Yeah,
nope,
pirate.
Katrina
I'm not
didn't
saying
leave
pirate.
that letter. Jafar did.
So yeah, he goes to the meeting place specified by the letter. And oh, hey, it's our friend Adavis. Remember how good of a friend he is of us? So he puts us to sleep, arms us with a hammer and a stake.
I'm not
and
even
puts
grabbing
us
those.
in place.
I'm just gonna go straight to the coffin, look at the sleeping lady inside, and then gently wake her up.
You have a couple of other options available to you, some of which will end the game, some of which will not.
Well, only killing her will end the game, but you can't kill her if you don't pick up the hammer and stake.
Right. You can also just wait, I believe, and eventually she'll wake up on her own. So yeah, Katrina learns that you know that she is in fact a vampire, and so she devises you to collect all the rituals. Her grand plan is that because she is so uptight, so conscientious of how vulnerable she is whenever she has to sleep during the daytime, she wants there to be eternal night. And she has heard that one of the side effects of summoning a Vuzul, one of the Dark Ones, is eternal night. That she will make that happen, and then she will never have to sleep again. And then her.
Yeah, but she took it a little too literally.
I'm gonna actually show off Igor or Dimitri killing you. I'm doing a safety save real quick to do it, but if I walk out in the middle of broad daylight, Dimitri is going to let me know. Oh no, I'm dead. Rip in peace, buddy.
There
Dead in
are
a Sierra game?
many ways to die in these games.
Some of them are hysterical. Other of them are predictable.
So on David's side, he's now going through the final gauntlet of the game, where he must go through the Dark One cave, which, by the way, is exactly where he started the game. And yet we cannot find any way to finish the game without going through the entire plot, regardless of that. But going through the Dark One cave, each of the rituals you must perform involves you figuring out some way to make it to the altar, and then some way to make it back alive.
Yeah,
Because
so I'm
once
actually using a glitch here where I can just run right through the blood. It's supposed to be acidic, but I guess if you click hand, it doesn't matter.
Huh. Nice.
Each of the rooms is glitchy, but this game is actually quite glitchy, and yet as a whole, it is like unbreakable.
Kind of a weird dichotomy there. So the breath ritual is particularly frustrating for a casual player because you need to breathe air into the tubes in a particular order, and where they place your body after the second breath completely blocks your ability to click on the third spot that you must breathe. So you actually have to walk away so that you are able to input the command to breathe on the proper next tube.
Yeah, but watch the
that
sense room.
stuck for a while.
This sense room is great. It's done.
Yeah, the sense room does not actually check It's supposed to block you from doing most of anything until you have restored your by walking along through it. But turns out your inventory is actually still available, so you just activate your inventory, click the sense ritual onto where you happen to know that the altar is, and then the room is done. You just exit and you're through with it. And then you climb your way up to the final room. You do the final ritual, which starts reviving Avuzal. And then Adavis picks a fight with Katrina by threatening you that apparently she loves you or something. So
I tell him the ultimate joke, so he starts laughing, and then I'm going to pull off the most badass kill of a vampire ever. Jump right onto him and stake it right through his heart while he's standing.
With a front tuck.
Using as your dagger the staff of Arana, which transformed itself into a stake for exactly that purpose. Then you meet Arana herself briefly, and supposedly meet her again next game, but that's not going to happen.
I was going to say, I mean, Katrina loves David, and I think I met her twice, and David met her once. She actually taught me Frostbite.
Yeah, I skipped that meeting, but Quest for Glory 5 is going to give me Frostbite for free.
Yep, which is the wind spell.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Glory 4 now. They're going into Glory 5. There's a bit of a tricky game stream, quite frankly. It is a Windows 95, and you kind of have to play it in full screen mode. It just doesn't work in a window at all. So...
Yeah, even with DirectX window, I've tried all sorts of settings. The part of the reason is because this game uses QuickTime for its movie events, and an early version of QuickTime. So whenever it switches to QuickTime, it pretty much just crashes the game.
If you're trying to use one of those other methods.
Correct.
So this is an early 3D game, so you can see a lot of design aesthetics as you see in like Final Fantasy VII and whatnot, where there's drawn panoramas that 3D characters walk across. And magic is going to be the key to victory, and in particular the Frostbite spell. Frostbite is an AoE damage spell. It is described as such in Quest for Glory 4, and you can use it to get past reversal in that game, but that never really matters in that game. However, in this game, you just start shooting Frostbite. You angle yourself properly such that a character who is technically on the map, just waiting to be spawned whenever the game demands it to happen, you just manage to get your giant cone of death to overlap with him. He dies, and then that causes the game to think that you're at the very end of the game. So
yeah, this is them declaring, oh hey, this guy was the bad guy all along, and so we're basically confirming that, and then gonna go to the end game sequence.
Yeah, so specifically the person he killed was the dagger twirling fellow you saw in one of the two instances.
Oh, I never saw him.
Yeah, you never saw him. However, Mr. P.R. Miller did.
Yep.
He's one of the brigands from the first game of the series, and he turns out to be the assassin who Minos has been using to kill the king, kill Rakesh, allegedly. But Rakesh never died. The entire rights of rulership is supposed to be selecting the next king never happened because he managed to snipe out a kill on this character who's, rather than not being spawned, is just hidden from your view. So by killing him early, that sets in motion the end game. So now he's storming Minos' mansion, I guess I'd call it. It's filled with goons and minotaurs and Roman mercenaries and stuff like that.
Oh, real quick, should I show off the dancing jester?
That's up to you.
So I imported into this game with the trigger and open spells. The open spell got me into the gate. It's not strictly necessary, but it helps speed things up a bit. But you need the trigger spell to trigger one of the traps on this alcove. If you don't have the trigger spell and you come into this game as a thief, you could just use your toolkit to disarm the trap instead.
I will not be defeated. I will destroy everything.
So this room is a little weird.
I hold the prophecy stone in my hand.
Monologue by the bad.
The dark
But
dragon will
after
rise
the
to
bad
destroy
guy
you.
kills himself in order to unleash,
If I cannot rule what is rightfully mine,
you must
then I
loot
shall destroy
him,
you.
and you must
You
loot
cannot.
one of the
No
6
one can
alcoves in this room.
I
Elsa
will
von
do.
Spielberg will point out which one.
You also need to loot
And-
the Minotaur.
Oh, you do? Okay. So you need to loot a bunch of things before you're allowed to loot. If you just take too long before looting those things, you don't leave without getting the stuff. The game just kills you.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that actually got my brother and I stuck on this for quite some time, as I recall, because we couldn't figure out what it was that Elsa was trying to get us to do.
So normally I'm
Man,
supposed to
what-
use the trigger spell on this alcove, but I'm just gonna show off this neat little disarm trap game.
If I recall, these are like the hardest instances of this trap game.
Yep.
whether
Yep.
the
Hey,
game
look what
goes
happened.
your way.
I actually did not have a 50 in my trigger spell. So,
So
trigger.
you actually have to do it.
Nope. I am taking the way out on this one. I had a backup for this just in case.
Another thing you could do is actually load your.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, like if you load the Quest for Glory for yeah, you can just spam the trigger spell until you have enough expert. That actually works.
It does. We tested it. And the problem here is that, of course, A, you lose a lot more time, but and you have to watch the ending scene again. But at least it's not a complete GG, because actually doing the thief lockpicking kind of like mini game to disarm traps is just abysmally annoying.
Yeah, it took me a really long time to get through that trap. Trigger spell just kind of skips the whole thing.
Yeah, it just makes the trap go boom instantly. Triggers the trap, if you will. So anyway, once we're at the actual dragon fight, Bort is going to be instructed.
Actually, I'm skipping that. I don't want to. I don't
Oh,
want
you are.
it. I don't want him dead.
So they do at least raise the dragon pillar, otherwise the dragon is too hard to kill or whatever. You can, with the ludicrous frostbite, potentially kill the dragon before you beat the first phase, in which case the game just soft locks. So don't let that happen. But you can just do massive damage to frostbite, and I suppose I should address why it does so much damage. Essentially, it's the same problem that Quest for Glory 4 had everywhere, where the frame rate that the game runs at
So,
winds
Dragon's
up
dead.
having an impact.
Time is coming up really soon. It's when we say yes to becoming the king. So,
Okay. Okay, so I'll describe frostbite later. You go ahead and be ready to declare time as you.
it's coming up really, really soon. Time.
All right, and there you have it. We have our winner for
Hey!
Quest for Glory 2. Sorry, Questing for Glory 2. Quest for Glory speedrun. Congratulations.
You did it! Your mom's gonna be so proud. If she even cares, I don't know.
So
I'm
yeah,
up.
he's looking through the list of what deeds he actually did, and it is insultingly low.
Compared to the ones that I haven't done. Look at all this.
Yeah. So the reason the frostbite spell is so ludicrously someone who's not that good at magic can do so much damage with it is that the frequency at which frostbite is doing its damage seems tied to the frame rate the game is running at, with some sort of upper cap, but that upper cap appears to be way the heck higher than what they balanced the game for. I remember the first computer that I played this game on. Frostbite seemed like an extremely reasonable spell, not really that crazy. And whenever fire breath was used on me, some enemies in Hades will do that. Oh, by the way, you're supposed to go to Hades in this game. There's a lot of stuff in this game, and you see none of it. This is a Greek mythology themed game, by the way. You have no particular reason to suspect that from what you've seen. But yeah, all of the damage over time spells are just nuts as soon as you get to any sort of vaguely fast compared to what they had designed this for. I think they were expecting approximately a 10 or so FPS process as you're going through involved combat. That seems to be what they expected.
The funny thing is, I'm so used to WASD for my movements, and Quest for Glory 5 totally does not use that, so I ended up cutting out of my screen.
Oops. I was wondering what happened there.
Oh, yeah, it was entirely intentional.
Yeah, this game actually has a whole lot of kind of weird hotkeys, like I think K for sneak, hold control to sidestep, page up and page down for going up and down when you're swimming, all sorts of stuff. If you know what they are, you can get around the game quite quickly.
Yeah.
And there's really a lot of time to be saved, especially in the more complete categories for this game, let's say, where you think ahead to all of the items you want in the future, and you can see on the bottom of the screen there's 10 inventory slots that you can put on the quick use bar. So if you think ahead, you can very quickly use the mouse to set up all 10 of the next items you're going to need. And then oftentimes you can just press the number key associated. Sometimes you have to click the thing and then click it onto what you're trying to interact with. But just generally speaking, you can do stuff about as quickly as you can click, except for walking. And that's where Quest for Glory 5 gets a lot slower than the rest of the series. Because there's a lot of space you have to traverse in all of the normal categories for the game. And there's no way to speed that up. You can go at your running speed and no faster. There's no game speed bar like in the previous game.
It's especially bad in Hades.
Yeah.
There's like one room in Hades that takes like a few minutes by itself just to traverse.
Yeah, because you have to go down the bottom path, right? And the river Styx as well. And then you have to go all the way around the top path in order to go through. Oh, actually, while I'm in Hades business, because I don't think you're allowed to leave until you've tried to do that.
I should have kicked his body just because.
That is an option.
So, are you gonna ask Gort to sacrifice himself?
I haven't asked anybody to sacrifice themselves all game, to be fair. So I think it's only right that he does.
Yeah, that's gonna skip straight to the second phase of the fight. But then the dragon will have full health in phase 2, and the sacrifice animation takes a little bit of time.
So I'm seeing some response to the fact that it says, "Do you want to save your Quest for Glory 5 character?" In chat. On David's screen it says that, and then on chat response. So for a little bit of explanation, there were grander plans for this game, but they ran a little bit out of time and out of budget. So if you look at the actual box, on the back of the box where it lists the cool things that people were raving about the game, one of the actual things that the official advertisements for the game advertises is that this game could be one of the leading upcoming RPG, multiplayer RPG, something like that. They intended there to be some sort of a live competition between multiple people trying to go through the rights of rulership. You kind of see that a lot of it, especially the right of freedom, but also a couple of the other ones, are kind of set up so that you can potentially compete.
I see you're done with the dragon.
Yep, my time will be any second here. Any second here. Yeah, we actually have on the Discord server some of the fun... Oh, time. Hey! I even feel heroic after that one. But the fun thing about that, if you can actually hex edit your save files to give you access to some of the characters that were planned for the multiplayer, like Magnum Opus and Elsa, and I think Kokino's in it also. There's some dummied out weapons that you can get, such as a bow and arrow, that don't have animations but apparently work, if I understand them right. And you can complete the game as Elsa. I've done it before, where Elsa ends up agreeing to become, or turning down the throne only so Elsa can do it. In fact, can become the queen. And potentially you could have Elsa marry Elsa, for all you Disney fan people out there. Yeah, you can do all sorts of fun stuff with this game because they had all these little bits and pieces tagged in there ready to go, and they just kind of let them go. Like, yeah.
All right, so there we have it. You have seen the entirety of the Quest for Glory series to cap off the Questing for Glory marathon, which has been very long, longer than a week, and has brought lots of great RPG speedruns that normally have a hard time fitting themselves into other large marathons because RPGs take a long time. Some of them can be glitched so much that they don't take very long, but a lot of them you actually do have to go through a fair amount of it legitimately. And even though you are going much faster than a casual player, it's still taking many hours, and most marathons can't handle that. So it's great that High Spirits, Almagus, all of the rest of the people involved in organizing this event have taken the time out to make this happen. So I'd like to give my thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was able to tune in a couple of different times during the week just to see what was going on, because there were so many different days. Sometimes I would just leave it up in the background and pop in and, oh, look at that, I forgot all about that game. So it's definitely cool to see the extent of the speedrunning community, even for some of the obscure stuff. That's what always gets me, is how people grind obscure games just for giggles. And P.S. Congrats, David, man. That's a good time.
Thank you. Yeah. It's about 10 minutes slower than PB, but this is just a showcase.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't take the optimal route for a couple of games either. Then you just waited in front of Quest for Glory. There's that.
Oh yeah. I forgot all about that. Holy smokes. That would have been a heck of a time save. But that's good. Yeah, I always encourage everybody to check out the Quest for Glory games. They're simple, they're forgiving, they're funny, they're well written, and they're $10. So you get 5 games for $10 total. It's cheap. And join our Discord, because I'd love to see more people taking a look at these games to see how else we can manage to break them.
We're almost at the sub-hour mark.
3 minutes away.
And for a bit of perspective, most of the 100, that's more your cup of tea, that's usually like 20 to 40 minutes, depending on which game and which class you're playing as.
Yep. It's definitely a little faster that way, or a little longer, I should say. Especially, you did. How long is? I think the Wizard 100% run is the fastest of them, if I had to take a guess. And
yeah.
that
Well,
is
if
Probably.
you include Quest for Glory 5, it's like 4.5 hours or something. No, a little less than that, I think.
Well,
Quest for Glory 5, unfortunately, is much longer than you're playing through it all the way through. There's more stuff to do and less of it to get from place to place quickly. So yeah,
Alright.
anytime our hosts want to get into the channel and wrap up the marathon,
High spirits may have passed out by this point. Been working
that
hard.
would actually make sense. He has been
You guys
putting
can
in overtime.
whatever.
Oh, well, thanks for having us.
yeah, thank you for having us on here.